Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. Joel, it's been a while. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. It's been the same 2 weeks. It always is.
You know, and it still feels like it's been longer than that. It's been the 2 weeks of the off season. Things are going a little bit slower of a pace.
Did you miss me? That's what it was. You just missed me. It's okay. It's okay to admit it.
A little bit, you know.
I missed you too. It's okay.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to do these podcasts and get some time to talk hockey, especially in the summer when things are dying down. But
when things are slow as all hell.
Very excited because my team, Cincinnati Junior Cyclones, are starting up. They started up on Saturday, and I was out of town for a wedding, so I will be back. Yeah, training camp is already underway. They got practice tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So I'll go. Yeah. So it's time to head to the rink for that, and then go to work after that. But
7 a.m. bag skate pheasants.
Yeah, pretty much. It's get the guys who aren't in shape, get them up to shape, and the guys who are in shape, get them in better shape. So it's the first game is just about 2 weeks away here. So
I have an
or in fact, 11 days. They play on the 17th as their first one. So
I have an impromptu question for you.
Okay.
If you were just tomorrow morning, all of a sudden, someone was just like, look, I'll give you $100 if you go do this. How would you fare if you did a bag skate just tomorrow morning?
Oh, tomorrow I would die.
Like, are we talking like puking for the next 3 hours after?
Oh, absolutely. We're talking puking for the next 3 hours. We're talking my legs are sore for a week. I don't. Yeah, that's not going to work at all.
I'd like to think I'd be dying, but I think by the end I'd be like, this was amazing.
It depends on what
I also can't
the bag skate entails, and depends on the length of the bag skate, what type of drills you're doing. Are you doing more suicides or ladder drill like what they were doing in Miracle? Are you doing
Miracle.
constant edge work drills? Are you doing the skate the lap, but as you're skating you're holding on to the goal and you're moving the goal all around the ice?
I would say
generate additional strength.
I would say you're resistance. Doing the Miracle one. Again.
Yeah. Again, I'm not a very good skater at all. So beyond just the fact that
I can't skate.
Yeah, beyond the fact that it's a bag skate, that would go so poorly for everybody involved. That it would be an embarrassment to myself. It would be an embarrassment to the game, and it's something that we really should just kind of put to bed before things even get started. Sam, with our first comment of the night, are we talking about Tort's upcoming training camp? A little bit, yeah. Tort's back at it, getting things going in Philly. Jesse chiming in. What's up, fellas? Jesse, how you doing tonight?
Some new names. I love it.
Yeah, we've building things out here, and some additional people checking in. Sam Wismer is one of my co-hosts with American Beauties, our AHL podcast that we launched last week. Which, by the way, if you haven't checked that out yet, the first episode is available on Spotify. So go give that a listen, but don't do it now. We're live during this show. So,
please don't do it right this very second.
Yeah, but after this show, go check that one out. We had a lot of fun on that first episode. We're going to be doing some deep dives.
Did you talk about my Wolves? I'm sorry, I did not get a chance to listen to it.
We did. So we talked about the Wolves winning the championship last year. We talked about how hard it is at the AHL level to rebuild things, because as the teams win championships, the players kind of go elsewhere and are signing on with other clubs or are getting called up. So kind of the argument that at the AHL level, it's almost harder to repeat as a champion there than at the NHL level. And organizationally, technically, because the Wolves were the Carolina affiliate, and then we had the 2 years where COVID canceled things, and Carolina's different affiliate, the Charlotte Checkers at the time, won the last two Calder Cups that have actually been played. Technically, they've gone back-to-back, but the first stagnant organization to do it was Hershey back in 2010. So it's been a while since we've seen a repeat champion. Chicago's going to have an uphill battle to do it again, but I talked all about that. Sam cried on the bit, but we had a great time. It was a great first show, so go check that one out.
Hell yeah!
After you check out the rest of tonight's episode, and we've got a busy one here, which surprising for the off season that we kind of find it slows things down a little bit. We kind of start to analyze and sometimes scrape for content a little bit. But I don't think we have that tonight.
You're giving away our secrets. Stop it.
It's just something that people got to know. I mean, when you're in the off season and there's not hockey action happening every day, there's not games, the news really slows down.
Not to mention the focus, especially this week, gets taken off of hockey with the NFL starting up.
Right. So even there, I mean, hockey takes a back seat for the next couple of weeks here, at least.
Except for the next 45 minutes.
The next 45 minutes. And then once training camp gets going and we start hearing the reports out of who's going to make the rosters, it kind of is slow, but we're almost there. We are, let's see. I want to say
under,
the day is
3 weeks away from training camps.
I believe we are 31 days away from the start of the NHL season. So
sounds about right.
Yeah, so we're officially Carey Price number of days away from the start of the season. The countdown is on.
One of the goats.
Well, and we can turn that to another goat tomorrow, because then tomorrow it'll be Henrik Lundqvist days.
Best goalie to never win a cup. Best player to never win a cup.
Boy,
one of the few. That's enough. That's a topic for another offseason show. Maybe next week.
What? Let's dig into it a little bit now. We can do a little research, but just off the top of your head, best players to never win a cup.
Look what I just did there.
Yeah,
teases for days.
Yeah, we'll have to throw that one in there. Without doing too much research.
Lists.
Without doing too much research, that's definitely pretty high up there. I would think Luongo is somewhere on the list. I would think Marcel Dion somewhere on that list. I would think naturally you'd have to have the Sedin somewhere on that list.
Hey, it was a tease.
It's a tease. We're not doing a deep dive on it. We're just
it was a tease.
Some names out there. But Joel is right. Speaking of lists, and not only that, but let's kind of stick with the goaltender theme here a little bit. The NHL released their list of the top 10 goaltenders, and I was really kind of surprised by this list, because looking at some of the names that are on there, is it the top 10 going into next season? Is it the top 10 for career body of work? Is it top 10 based on potential? So I'm going to put that list up on the screen here right now. Joel, do you want to go ahead and read these off for us?
Yeah, so rounding out the top 10 at number 10 is Marc-Andre Fleury. Number 9, Jake Ottinger. We'll get into it. I'll just read them off real quick, because some of these are like, what? Number 8, Freddie Anderson. Number 7, Connor Hellebuck. Number 6, Thatcher Demko. Number 5, Ilya Sorokin. Number 4, Jacob Markstrom. Number 3, Juicy Saros. Number 2, Igor Shesterkin. Shesty, release us! And number 1, to literally nobody's surprise, Andrei Vasilevsky.
I think Vasilevsky at number 1 on this list is the only one that really should merit zero debate.
Number 2 as well. I mean, actually, I guess the only debate there could be, would you switch to 1 and 2 based on recency bias, but that's pretty much it.
Well, again, 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals appearances for the Lightning, largely because of Andrei Vasilevsky's play, especially his performance in elimination games. I don't see how you don't have him at number 1. And yeah, I would.
Which cup did he get Which cup did he get the Conn Smythe again? Was that the first or the second one?
I
thought it was the second one.
I think it was the second one too.
The first one went to Victor Hedman. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway.
And then the second one, could have gone to Kucherov, but they went Vasilevsky.
Rightfully so. Yeah. He probably could have gotten both, honestly.
Yeah, I would hear an argument for Markstrom top 3, and I definitely think I have Markstrom over Saros. I don't know where I can put him at.
Agree.
In comparison to Shesterkin. Just looking at the ungodly numbers that Shesterkin had last year, and the number of times that the Rangers were outshot but still won the game. They had 7 wins last year where they were outshot by 15 or more. I think that says something about the quality of the goaltending when you're getting outshot that badly and still finding a way to win games. So Shesterkin for me is one that definitely deserves to be on that list and deserves to be in that top 3.
Absolutely. He's going to be in that top 3 for many years to come.
Ilya Sorokin, I think, is one that a lot of people sleep on.
It's and me included.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were like two names, two, two maybe three names in this list where I was like, how did you squeeze your way into the top 10? Let alone Sorokin rounding out the top 5. Like Connor Hellebuck.
Well, let me throw this one out there for Sorokin for you. Among goaltenders with at least 25 games last year, he was second in save percentage and fourth in goals against average. So even if you're just using that before digging into some of the more advanced stats on it, that alone tells me he deserves to be on this list.
Fair. And I mean, I think that kind of goes into what you were saying. Like, what was this list made up of? And I think it's a mixed bag of recency bias compared with lifetime achievement in their careers. It's literally a mixed bag when you have Marc-Andre Fleury rounding out the top 10, rightfully so. But then you jump into Jake Ottinger, who, yeah, he was a absolute ungodly, not even human monster in the playoffs, but that's it.
Yeah, one of the most dominant playoff performances we've ever seen. His regular season numbers weren't bad. Like, they were still pretty good numbers, but not to put him into the top 10.
I mean, that one... Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like if you're going to put Ottinger in because it's the top 10 that you would want for next season, I don't see how you put Fleury in the top 10. And I say that knowing that Fleury is the goaltender for my team, the Minnesota Wild. And not only that, but they traded away another goaltender to more firmly lock up Fleury's place as the starter in Minnesota.
And you would be better off for that.
Maybe not. We'll see.
In the short term, you will.
He is getting up there, but I mean, organizationally, there's a lot of good that Fleury brings as well. Just the presence in the locker room and the interactions with other players, the leadership,
and his performance, man. Like he did all he friggin' could for you guys, and hell, he gets a top 10 for what he did for us. Like his performance in front of that defense, or behind
he did.
That
but
defense.
Then when you look at the stats from the postseason, for example, that's where things kind of take a turn.
Just last postseason.
Yeah, for Fleury.
Right. But to me, I don't know. This list is like, and I normally very much don't argue too hard with the NHL Network's lists. They're usually pretty damn spot on. This one confuses me a little bit. Like, I just don't understand. We're going to get into snubs, but the Jake Ottinger just confuses me. Sorokin, I sleep on. I admittedly sleep on him. He's going to be good, but I feel like this list is heavy recency bias, aside from maybe the top, definitely the top 2 and maybe the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, because we can't deny that Markstrom had an incredible season as well.
I would switch him. He should be in the top 3.
Yeah, Markstrom 9 shutouts last season. Sorokin second with 7, by the way. So just throwing that out there as well. So you're sleeping on Sorokin. Sam chiming in and saying Anderson should be higher, in my opinion. Yeah, I kind of think so too.
I agree with you.
8 on this list was really kind of low for me. The last couple seasons he's had. I wonder if maybe some other guys we might need to throw on there. Where do you put Darcy Kemper? Where do you put Tristan Jarry? Where do you put Jack Campbell?
You took the words right out of my mouth, and I guess we can segue into it. How is Jake Ottinger in this list at number 9, but the Stanley Cup winning goaltender and Darcy Kemper isn't in there? If it's just the Jake Ottinger thing here. I get it. I get it. People yell at me like, "Oh, you're going to put him in the top 10 because he won the Stanley Cup." Yeah, he won the Stanley Cup as opposed to losing his playoff round and doing and standing on his head for what was it, 7 or was that 6 games, right? Yeah, it was 6 for Ottinger. Yeah, so you stood on your head for 6 games, and realistically, you had the one inhuman performance versus Darcy Kemper, who was already like a decent goalie. I would never have put him in the top 10 before he got to Colorado, but then you put him in front of a damn good defense. He proved himself. So how does he not make the top 10?
Yeah, and I wonder if Kemper, he did have a couple of real clunker games in the conference finals and the cup round.
Yeah.
But even still, you look at full body of work, which again, what is this list doing? Is it full body of work for the season, full body of work for the career, full body of work for last year's playoffs? Because if it's playoffs, I mean, there are some guys here who wouldn't even really be on this list.
As a data guy, I'd like to see exactly what they used over in the studio. What systems were they using to calculate some of the weights of all of what you just said? Playoffs, recent playoffs, or all-time playoffs, recent seasons versus all-time regular seasons. Like what how many? I don't know how many shutouts do all of them have. Who knows?
All time, I would think of this list that's put together here. Fleury's got to be number one
Oh,
of the ones on this
absolutely.
list. But I bet
Without a doubt.
Vasilevsky's getting close.
I would all time. I'd put. Maybe I'm crowning him too early, but I don't think I am. I'd put him at the if we're going all time and you're not taking into account any recency bias whatsoever. Get Vasilevsky rounding out the top 5 in that list.
I think by the time his career is over, we will look at Andrei Vasilevsky and say he's the best to ever do it. I really think there's a strong shot that
top 5 to ever do it. I don't know if
I put him top 5 right now.
Well, so did I.
Literally. Right.
But
I may even have him top 3 right now.
See, I'm not going to say he's not going to. I'm not there yet. I'm pretty damn close, but I'm not there yet.
I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm gonna.
I love being put on the spot.
Who would you have then in your top 5 goaltenders all time as of today?
Oh God, yes, that is putting me on the spot.
Yes, that's why I said I hate to do it, but I love to do it.
All time. I mean, number 1 has to be Dominik Hasek.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you there. He's my number 1 as well.
2 would be Brodeur. I mean, I came when I first started watching hockey. I mean, he was still the man to watch, and that held true until he retired. 3, probably. We were just talking about him, Lundqvist. I know I'm missing some obvious, like, huge Hall of Famer goalies too, but this is just me. I wonder if I would probably throw Belfour in there. That's probably the Hawks fan in me talking, but
maybe a little bit on that
one. And then I mean I would put Vasilevsky at that 5 spot. So I'm not saying he's not in the all-time top 5 already, but I know I left off some big goalies. Don't worry, I know.
I think for me, I'm with you with Hasek at number 1. I think, despite a shorter career than some of the other goaltenders who have made the list, I go Ken Dryden at number 2.
He was who I was forgetting.
he was a big one. There was one other big one that I was really surprised you didn't say.
I'm switching 4. My bad, Patrick Waugh.
Yeah, I was
My
going to say.
My bad.
I'm sitting here giving you a big old hint.
My bad. Definitely Patrick Waugh is in there. Actually, if anything, Patrick Waugh is my top 3.
I have him at 5 on my list. I'm going to go Hasek 1. I'm going to go Dryden 2, Vasilevsky 3, Lundqvist 4, and Waugh 5.
Oh, so Lundqvist was in your top
5. Or no, Brodeur 5. Waugh would be 6.
Oh, you didn't even have Waugh in your top 5.
No, I have Waugh outside my top 5. I have him at number 6, but I have him outside the top 5.
No, see,
so
Hasek, Brodeur.
Oh
no, you did Dryden.
Hasek, Dryden, Vasilevsky, Lundqvist, Brodeur.
And for me, I did Hasek, Brodeur, Waugh. I put Waugh back at 3, and then Lundqvist, then Vasilevsky.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, the goaltenders one was a little bit nitpickier. But as far as surprises go, I think I was really surprised by their top 20 defenseman list.
Yeah.
This one had some real head scratchers. If we thought goaltending was how are you basing your credentials here, This one really was
It's
kind of all
interesting.
over the place. So
They were coming so hot off the centers and wingers one they just released. Both of them were pretty damn spot on. Maybe mix up one or two, but pretty damn spot on. And then you come out with the defensemen and goalies. I'd get a lot harder to gauge, but
and again, they gave him 20, so they gave him even more
right.
wiggle room. And I think they still kind of mucked this one up a bit. So I'll read 20 through 11, and then I'll have you read 10 through 1.
Okay.
So at number 20, we have Brent Burns. Number 19, Alex Petrangelo. Number 18, Rasmus Dahlin. Number 17, Drew Doughty. Number 16, Zach Werenski. 15, Shea Theodore. 14, Morgan Riley. 13, Jacob Slavin. 12, Quinn Hughes. And number 11, Moritz Seider. Joel, I'll hand it to you for the top 10 here.
And rounding out the top 10, Miro Heiskanen. Number 9, John Carlson. Number 8, Devon Taves. Two second-round picks, by the way. Number 7,
I will never get over that. And I don't think any Islanders fan will either.
Before I even continue the list, he is within the top 10 defensemen in the league right now, and he went for 2 second-rounders. Anyway, number 7, Aaron Ekblad. Number 6, Chris Letang. Number 5, rounding out the top 5, Charlie McAvoy. Number 4, Adam Fox. Number 3, Roman Josi. Number 2, Victor Hedman. And number 1, Cale Makar.
Joel, what are your first thoughts on seeing this list?
It's kind of within 2 buckets. The one bucket is within the top 20, but people need to be moved around. That's the first bucket. Like, look, these X names can stay in the top 20, but you messed up where they were. And then the other bucket is just, how is this person in there over some names we will mention in a few minutes here. So those are the 2 buckets for me. And I feel like they're kind of evenly matched for me. Like, I think my biggest point right off the bat would have to be back on the 20 through 11.
Sure, I'll put those names up again here.
Yeah, I figured we'd switch back and forth. Makes sense. Yeah. I should have a little cue, just like a snap, so you click it back and forth. No, I'm just kidding. I think my biggest thing is...
It's almost Thanos-like. We snap and half the names disappear.
I like that. Perfectly balanced is all things should be.
For you, my friend. Good times.
Just like my buckets. My buckets that I just mentioned are perfectly balanced, as all things should be. Anyway. I'm sorry. I'll probably catch some heat on this one, and I actually don't care. How in God's name are you going to put a rookie, Moritz Seider, not just in the top 20, but almost into the top 10? I am all for bringing in the new school. You know me. I am all for destroy the old school, bring in the new school. I love that. But you're doing a list of the top 20 defensemen in the league, and Moritz Seider has 1 year in the league. 1. That is total recency bias, and I will not hear any argument that it's not. I get it. He won Rookie of the Year, and the kid's going to be phenomenal. Put the kid in the top 20, hell, maybe as early as next year. Not after your rookie year.
Yeah, I especially seeing him at number 11 on this list. And, like, I love Seider. I think he's going to be a very good top 10, if not top 5 defenseman in this league over the course of his career.
Don't disagree.
He has stepped up so far in a major way. And watching what the Detroit Red Wings, if you're not paying attention to what's going on in Detroit with that rebuild, that is going to be a very, very scary team over the next 5 years. They're going to be a powerhouse in the East.
Earned it. They've gone through hell for the last 5-6 years, so they've earned
it. They did what I hope other teams eventually find the courage to do, which is to decide organizationally, we need this overhaul of a rebuild. It starts with our hockey ops department. It starts with our scouting department. It starts with kind of burning things to the ground. Joel is absolutely begging for the Hawks to do this right now.
We literally are doing it.
Follow the Detroit model of how you rebuild your entire organization. the youth movement throughout and to sustain that type of success.
I want to beak and do a quick 2-second tangent because we're on this topic.
Go ahead.
You mentioned like them burning everything, the Red Wings burning everything to the ground, full scale scorched earth rebuild. It brings up a take that we've heard here in ESPN Chicago radio from one of the radio guys. He's been saying it for years, and I never wanted to believe him, but I'm starting to actually believe him. Where Detroit finally is out of the position they were in for the last, let's call it 5 years, but they were kind of put in that position by by paying their top two dudes, maybe not too much, but a lot, that strapped them. And then when things started to decline, they didn't trade one or either of them, and it got them into this pit. And that was Zetterberg and Datsuk. Comparable in a way, which we're starting to see a little bit with the Hawks, and this hurts me to say, comparable to Taves and Kane.
Yeah, there was zero chance that Detroit was going to trade Datsuk or Zetterberg before they absolutely had to. And then when they traded Datsuk, it was basically trading his contract to Arizona because he was going to go play in Russia.
Right, exactly.
Fine. Same deal there with the beloved fan favorites who played a piece in Stanley Cup runs.
That's an understatement.
So, yeah, especially in Chicago's case. But yeah, I get that. But sometimes, like, you need to do it. We saw, cheating scandal aside, we saw the Houston Astros do it, where they bottomed out. They were a last place club for like 3 straight years of 100+ losses in baseball. They were really, really bad. But building through the draft, building through the minor leagues, reorganizing your scouting department, getting your newer managers in place, and not just trying to kick the tires on an old manager, it worked. And we're seeing that in Detroit right now, that they are building to being a championship caliber club. They're loading up, and they didn't get like a number 1 overall pick to do it either, which is, I think, the really interesting part of their rebuild, is they didn't get the number 1 guy. It wasn't that they absolutely.
You don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
I will die on that hill. You don't need to.
Right, which is why I'm hoping the Hawks don't end up with Bedard, but
suck hard for Bedard.
I had to get a cheap shot in there.
That's fine, whatever.
It's they built the right way and found their guys who organizationally are the fit, not just the they got, with their draft picks, best player available in a lot of cases, but in some cases they went for value as well, because we bring up Sider to segue it back into this top 10 list. They took Sider, I want to say either 6th overall or 8th overall. I can't remember off the top of my head. He was a top 10 pick.
I'll get that up for you.
On most draft boards, he was somebody who was more likely lower teens to upper 20s. Somebody who was still considered to be a first-round pick, but he was not.
6th.
Okay, 6th. So he was not really thought of as a top 10 pick, and beyond that, even to go top 6 was really a stretch in a lot of people's eyes to see Detroit kind of take a gamble. But when you have the player that you like, that fits what your organization is trying to do, that fits an organizational need, and has the talent and upside to back that up, you go for it. And that's why I think Sider is making an appearance on this list. That said, I'm with you that number 11 is kind of really too high for me.
That's insane to me.
And especially, like, we threw out some names off air about some guys that we were really surprised weren't on this list. Dougie Hamilton was one that,
the biggest one for me,
that really came to mind as someone not being on this list. And maybe that's the injury.
Of course it's absolutely the injury.
The decreased production with New Jersey. But again, New Jersey, that organization has needed a lot of help, especially defensively. And I look at a lot of the other names on this list, and they're not the only guy on their team that has been, putting up high level of production. Even in this part of the list, like you see Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore, two guys who make up a very good defensive group for Vegas.
Yeah.
You have guys on this list where, you're seeing multiple players from the same team in this list a couple of times here. So I really was surprised that Hamilton wasn't on there. For me, I think it's criminal that Jonas Brodin isn't on this list, because I look at a lot of these guys as well, and they're guys who they put up a lot of points, but their defensive metrics are awful.
Dan, don't you know? What makes a perfect defenseman is how many points they score.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only acceptable metric for good defensemen. How many points you can put up.
Yeah.
No.
Dude, come on. How do you not know this?
I mean, but if that's the case, why is Jacob Slavin on this list?
For the record, anybody listening or watching, I'm obviously being sarcastic.
Sarcasm.
I'm just going to get attacked by everybody.
Yeah. I mean, one that comes to mind that stands out for that good offense but the poor defense, Morgan Riley.
Yep.
Had the worst defensive wins above replacement in the league over the past 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. The second worst on that list is Patrick Kane, a forward. So when you are talking about,
you had to throw that.
I did.
He's not asked to play defense, man. Move on.
He's not, but that shows you the degree to which his defensive numbers have sagged. Is that not only is he the worst among defensemen, he's the worst among forwards as well. And when you're throwing guys who are the all offense, no defense forwards like Patrick Kane on this list, and that's not taking anything away from Kane as a player, it really says something for how bad Riley has been defensively. On the opposite side of that, Jonas Brodin, third best defensive wins above replacement over the last 2 seasons. I look at Drew Doughty, who fifth lowest on ice save percentage over the past 2 seasons among defensemen with at least 2,000 minutes.
I mean, am I about to really go hot take here and say Drew Doughty is pretty much starting to get into has-been territory?
He has been a has-been.
Yeah. Okay.
I think over the past couple of seasons, he has been a has-been.
Is that mean? Maybe. Is it true? Yep.
Life comes at you fast.
Exactly. Hey, look, Duncan Keith, one of the best to ever do it. He got to that status right before he was traded.
He was there while he was still in Chicago to start to really hitting that decline, but then especially once he got traded, we saw just how far that decline could go.
During that, you saw it during what the hell was it? We'll call it the bubble season, the COVID bubble playoffs.
Yeah, that was probably where it first started to really become evident that decline's coming fast. Mm-hmm. Looking back at the top 10 here, I have zero argument with number 1, and I have zero argument with number 2 on this list.
Honestly, for one, yes, I agree. I have zero argument with 1, zero argument with 2. I'd argue to not argue that 3 and 4 are perfectly fine too. I might switch them.
I would switch McAvoy with Yossi on this list, and I would bump Taves up to 6.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Letang is still doing it at this age, and after all the injuries and all the issues and everything, like he's still killing it. So I definitely think he's still top 10 worthy, but I definitely agree. I mean, maybe even Ekblad goes in front of Letang for me too, but Taves for sure. Mm-hmm. Again, Taves, 2 second-round picks.
I gotta keep throwing that stat out there, and I mean,
how do you not?
But again, like you look at Taves and you look at Cale Makar, who teammates with the Colorado Avalanche, but they play such different styles of play. Cale Makar, 28 goals this season. Like that's his game is the offensive zone, controlling your breakouts. Taves managed 57 points to Makar's 86, but Taves was deployed in much more of a shutdown type of role. And I'm going to get the puck to Makar so he can do whatever he's going to do with it. If
Right.
those two were on the ice at the same time, good luck starting a breakout and good luck doing anything in your own defensive end trying to stop it.
Right.
Because the way those two move the puck in their different styles works so well together. I mean, there's no reason for Taves. Honestly, I think at 8, he's low on this list.
Yeah, which is hilarious too, because it's like at first he was just like this guy hanging out in on the Islanders, playing well, but it was more just like, oh, does Jonathan Taves have a brother? And now all of a sudden,
yeah, it's like, oh, he might be the. I would say objectively at this point in their careers, Devon is the better Taves at this point in their careers.
Don't get me started. We're not good. That's not what this is about. You're wrong.
Oh, sure it is.
Back up.
You brought it up.
Back
you brought up,
up.
The second Taves bit. So no, I gotta lean into that one.
That could not be more wrong. But anyway.
Again, for next season, which would you rather have on your team?
Okay, well, they're literally 10 years apart in age?
That's what I'm saying. At
That's
this
not
point
what
in their
you were
careers,
saying.
That is what I said. I said at this point in their careers.
Oh, I thought
give
you meant
me Taves.
Well, okay. Yeah, duh.
We'll see where it goes full body of work when they're both done.
That's what I thought you were saying. I thought you meant at this point in their careers, like at this point in like this exact same time at Jonathan Taves' career when he was 20. How old is Devon Taves? How old is he? 25?
That's a good question.
27.
Devon Taves is 28.
28. Yeah.
Oh.
That's what I thought you were saying.
When we're doing Pod Snipe Celly 15 years from now and both of these guys are retired, then we'll have the conversation about who had the better career.
And when we're doing it 15 years from now and we have 10 million weekly viewers.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
10 million. Yeah.
Build it up.
Hey, you get to 1 million, then it's just all right, get to the next million. And then once you're there.
Yeah, let a good thing grow.
Exactly.
See what happens. Give me one name on this defenseman list or one person who wasn't on that list who you think this upcoming season will earn a place on that list. And don't say Seth Jones. I'm surprised. We made it 37 minutes into the episode. I couldn't bring up Seth Jones on that list.
I understand him obviously not being in the top 20. However,
you're not putting him there for next
season.
You're not putting him there for next season. Don't you dare put him there for next season.
I'm just messing with you.
Okay, good. Good.
Top 30? Top 30. Definitely top 30. I'd put him at 20.
We've already thrown out 3 or 4 names here that weren't in the top 20.
I said 29.
Again, 29. Take above them.
29.
You are trying to get me going, and it's working.
You're damn right I am. Ooh, I got a good one for you.
Okay.
Darnell Nurse.
Ooh, interesting.
Maybe not top 10. Well, definitely not top 10, but top 20. I just look. There were way too many in that 11 to 20 range. There were by way too many, obviously 3 to 4, but there was quite a couple to a few where it's like you take recency bias out of it, they shouldn't be there.
We've got a great comment from HP that.
Oh, here comes HP.
Is going to get you.
Can I read it?
You absolutely can. I'm going to put this up on the screen and just enjoy.
Oh, God. All right. From HP, Seth Jones wouldn't be in my top 100. You know what? It doesn't surprise me from a typical South Canadian such as HP. All right. Go drink your golden lights and
it had to be done. I had to bring that one up. I couldn't let that HP slide.
You know what? HP, my only comeback to that is you listen to Five Finger Death Punch. All right, let's move on now.
Oh, the Five Finger Death Punch grenade.
For anyone who doesn't know, they're the worst, quote, metal band out there today. Quote. Cheers, Pop. Well, now I feel bad. I take back my Five Finger Death Punch joke.
In fairness, there's a little bit of a delay between when you say it and when HP is able to get these comments
that's
in.
Fair. That's
so
true.
There is that. So
Did you originally set that delay before we started putting the
no,
explicit tag on if I swore?
it's automatic. I mean,
Oh.
our show has an implied explicit tag every
Hey,
week that
I
you're
haven't
on the
dropped an
show.
F-bomb in the last like 3 episodes.
That's not true.
That is absolute.
I promise you, it's not.
Ah, shit, you're right. Oh, well, that wasn't an F-bomb though.
It wasn't. We'll see if we can make it through the rest of this one without.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Darnell Nurse. What's to bringing it back in? What's who? What about you?
Oh, it's a really good question, and I kind of came up with it on the spot, so I haven't got to do a ton of research.
I just went on a random ass tangent for you.
And I should have been looking things
So
up
did
there.
HP. HP helped out there.
Darnell Nurse is a pretty
You
good.
can't. By the way, you can't say Jonas Brodin.
Yeah, that's cheating. I feel like we've already talked about him enough on that segment. Like I do think I think it's criminal that he's not in there on that list.
By the way, I didn't share this opinion of the list too. Obviously, my big one was the Moritz Seider thing. However, believe it or not, I would still be putting Moritz Seider in before I'm putting Morgan Riley in.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Larger sample size with Morgan Riley, but you're also on one of the top offensive teams in the league, so that's kind of a trash. That putting him in, nothing against him. He's a good defenseman, but like he's not top 20, especially over someone like Dougie Hamilton, Thomas Chabot, Jonas Brodin.
I've got 2 here that I think could make it onto this list next year. Not saying they will, but could. One of them is Jamie Drysdale from the Anaheim Ducks. Rookie this season, second most points among rookie defensemen with 32. Going to be playing big minutes for Anaheim next year, but I think that one's a little bit less likely just because of the team performance as a whole. Spoiler alert, the Pacific is going to be really bad next year. And
what?
Anaheim, yeah, to the surprise of absolutely nobody, but like it was a pretty weak division last year, and I think it got worse as a whole. But one who I think could make that list, who, because of both their team and their individual performance, could make that list, is Bowen Byram.
That's a good one. That's
solid
a good one.
Run with Colorado during the Cup, especially with Sam Girard out. He kind of stepped up and filled that role. I expect that he is going to continue to see more big minutes, assuming that he can stay healthy. He struggled with some concussions early on in his career, but when he's been on the ice, he has been incredibly effective. I think he's somebody who really could crack that list next season with an expanded role.
If we're going we've given our picks. If we're going hope, Kevin Korchinski.
Again, not next year, but
not next year. In the next 3-4 years,
give it
that'd
2-3
be nice.
years.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be surprised to see him there. 3-4 years down the line.
Let's go.
It'll take a while to get there, but you go through the pains of that kind of.
Who was our other defenseman we drafted this year?
Sam Renzel, was that it? Kid from
That sounds very familiar. I'm looking it up
Sam
now.
Renzel. 2020.
Yes, thank you.
I got it. I know your prospects better than you do.
Move on to the next damn segment.
That's a given. I binge. Prospect related content.
Everyone knows this. I'm people who are playing. You're the prospect guy.
Yeah, I'm the who's next, and Joel's the who's now. That's nothing wrong with that.
Olivet, I got some prospect. If they're in the Blackhawks pool, I guess clearly not. But
let's move on. Close out the show that we like to do it around here. 2 minutes for roughing.
I'm interested in yours.
You've done a couple here in a row now, Joel, and I appreciate that. Because sometimes I just don't have things that I'm mad about.
Most of the time, especially as of late, me either, which is a good thing. But
yeah, I'm sure once we get to the NHL season, there'll be more things that we'll get upset about. But I've got the one for this week. So if you would be so kind as to put 2 minutes up on the clock there for me,
I can do it in a hot second. Where's my thing? There it is. All right. Are you ready? Oh, that's 2 minutes and 25 seconds. There we go.
Yeah, I don't want to serve the extra,
Yeah.
extra 25 seconds here. I would do it if I needed to, but
The extra 25 seconds, they couldn't get the door open.
yeah, I'm sitting there screaming and banging my stick,
All right, you
waiting
ready?
for the ref to stop play. All right, let's do it. Count me in here.
And 3, 2, 1, go.
So Joel mentioned earlier in the show that the NFL is back, and we get our first taste of NFL action on Thursday night. We get the Bills and the Rams in a Thursday night showdown. That is going to be
Hell of a game.
an unbelievable game. That's going to be really fun to watch. And I am excited for the football Sundays, the tailgates. But even more than all of that, I geek out over fantasy football, as I'm sure many of the people who are listening to this do. Joel, I'm in one league with you, and I think this is like the first year in a long time where we haven't been in multiple leagues together. Fantasy hockey, we do multiple leagues together. Joel's in 5, I'm in 4. Joel and I are in 3 fantasy hockey leagues together. So like fantasy sports is pretty big for us, and I'm looking forward to bringing back the Wednesday night pick segment. I'm looking forward to with hockey specifically having a daily pick video that we'll share with you as we get into the upcoming season. But keeping it to fantasy football, it seems like every single year, every league has at least 1 or 2 guys who they'll have an injury to their team, their star player early in the season, and just not check it. Or they signed up for the league, they went on auto draft, and they never set a lineup. Please, I beg you, do not be the person who joins a fantasy league, regardless of sport, and does not set a lineup. It's the bare minimum that you can do from an involvement side. And even if you just want to click, select all starters or something like that, or who's playing today, optimize my best lineup based on projections. Do something like that. Don't be that guy who joins and just doesn't set anything the rest of the year. It makes it so frustrating for everybody who does take it more seriously. If you don't want to, that's fine. Just do the bare minimum. If you're going to do it, do it.
I love that for one. Yes, I'm right there with you. I am a huge fantasy nerd. I am in 5 fantasy football leagues this year, which is hilarious. The most I've ever done is 3. Also, add a 6th. I'm in a survivor pool too. That's a little different, but still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
fantasy adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. I mean, I think the only thing is where I don't get necessarily pissed about it. I do, but the one time where I don't is typically, and pretty much every league does this, whoever's commissioning it. That's why you have a buy-in of like $20 or higher. Like to me, to anybody, like $20 is not exactly. I mean, it's a small amount, but it's not a small amount. Like it's kind of in between.
Yeah, it's enough to have some skin in the game.
Exactly. So I think that's why it's always like, look, you should always have a buy-in, because then you're one of 2 things. Then you're going to avoid that person who just auto drafts and doesn't do a damn thing and they're just a body, or 2, drafts, has the injury, and then just stops caring after week 1. I think it stops that, or if it doesn't stop it, it kind of just gives me kind of the like, I have no sympathy, because cool, I'll take your money then, or one of us will take your money. You already paid, so you just wasted X amount of money, so that's your fault.
One thing that our league added to kind of combat some of that is once you're on the consolation bracket, have that go towards next year's first overall pick. So whoever wins the consolation bracket wins next year's number 1 overall pick and gets that spot. So that way, even if they're, just down on their injury luck, end up in a really bad spot, you have the consolation bracket play out for your inverse standing order for the next season. And then you go the rest of the way from there, tied to your draft picks in a redraft league. So if you're not doing a keeper, as a way to kind of keep those teams at the bottom still involved and interested. What?
First, I won the consolation bracket last year and I picked 2nd.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. No, you took 2nd on the consolation bracket last year. Because again, in your case, you had a team that was very injured.
Oh, I had the bubonic plague of injuries last
but
year.
you kept playing. You set a lineup every week.
You never know. Hey, you never know. You could come back.
Yeah, anything can happen. You get somebody who, strong second half of the season, who starts putting up points, and all of a sudden you're kind of back in the mix on things.
I will throw a little empathy towards not the football side. Football is easy to set your damn lineup every week. It's three total days a week that games play. Thursday, Sunday, Monday. Like that's easy.
And realistically, if you want to set a lineup on Wednesday or Thursday and be good for the rest of the week, fine. Yeah. You don't even have to tinker on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. My day to set lineups is typically Wednesday. Unless all of a sudden something happens injury-wise, whatever. But the empathy I can give is to hockey and basketball fantasy. Hell, even baseball. At least daily lineups. Because daily lineups can get time-consuming. Like I just said, I'm in 5 fantasy football leagues. I would not be caught dead in 5 fantasy hockey leagues or fantasy baseball leagues or fantasy basketball leagues.
Just a reminder that you and I are in 3 fantasy hockey leagues together.
The first time I have ever done 3, and truth be told, one of them is probably going to suffer. So that's just, that 2 of them are going to get the majority of the attention. One of them is probably going to suffer as a result. But that's a little tougher. Still, set your damn lineup, but like I get it. If it's a daily lineup set, like 82 games a season in basketball and hockey case, or a little less than that, I guess. I understand. Your microwave is going off.
Yeah, that's the timer telling me that we need to wrap up the show because dinner is ready. So
that's fair.
That's what that noise is. That
I need
you're
to
hearing.
Order myself some dinner.
That's a good time to wrap it up for tonight. Thank you to everybody who joined us for tonight's episode. We had a ton of comments throughout the show.
Hell yeah. Keep those coming. Let's go.
We are a viewer-driven show, so we talk about the things that you, the viewers, want to talk about and hear from us on. So we appreciate everybody who joins in live every week. As a reminder, we are available on demand on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. You can also rewatch us on YouTube if you want to watch instead of just listening. But please be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and follow. We're on Twitter at PodSnipeCelly. And then on Facebook under the same handle there as well, PodSnipeCelly. No show next week, but then we are back the Tuesday after that. And I think after that, we will be back into the Tuesdays every week. So next week will be our last off week for a while, because then we'll be back into the preparations for the season from there. So
that means we will have a zany, all over the damn place show for you in 2 weeks, because it's the last technical off-season show.
Yep. So
we'll go all over the damn place with that one.
Just anything and everything. We got 2 weeks to prepare, and we're absolutely going to do it. So stay tuned for that next show. Go ahead, Joel.
Plug too. This won't happen until probably first week of October, maybe last week of September. I'll plug this now, and we'll continue to plug this, but those fantasy leagues we were talking about, that hockey fantasy league, one of our shows, we are going to do a live draft, or at least the 2 of us in the league will be live drafting each of our teams, reacting, trash talking. So
not only that,
mark that on your calendars.
We're working on maybe getting some of the other members of the league in for those shows as well. So we could have a full panel doing some real-time draft reactions across the way here. So stay tuned for that. We're going to figure out the best way to do that. But especially if you're a fantasy hockey nerd like us, stay tuned for that.
Yeah, if you want to watch it just to take some tips on who we drafted, and maybe that helps your strategy, that's what we're here for. We're
absolutely
here for the
we do it for the people.
Do it for the bit. I mean, the people. Crap.
You had one job.
No, I didn't.
Okay, you had 2 jobs.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for tonight's show. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Happy NFL season, everybody.